Hello, good morning. My name is Luciana Gama Muniz. I am Project Director at the Brazilian Center for International Relations, CEBRI. Welcome, everyone. It is a pleasure to be here today with such distinguished speakers. Our debate is a joint initiative between CEBRI's Asia and Agro program in partnership with Insper Agro program and sponsored by the Embassy of China in Brazil. Today, we will discuss Brazil and China post-COVID-19, food safety, health security, and sustainability. Before we start our debate today, I would like to pass the floor to Mr. Yuhui, Minister Counselor at the Embassy of China in Brazil, for his welcome remarks.
Good morning, and thank you very much, Luciana. And in name of the Chinese Embassy here in Brazil, we would like to welcome all the participants and also give our special thanks to our distinguished speakers, namely Mrs. Larissa, Philippe Xu, and Professor Nie. And also we would like to thank Professor Marcus Jank, who will be our moderator. Actually, this is our third episode, also the last episode of the series of webinars co-organized by our embassy and CEBRI. The idea is to discuss about the China-Brazil relationship, especially during the post-pandemic period. The first two episodes were discussing the biotechnology and the smart city. And today's topic is about the food security, health, security, and also sustainability. I think this is a topic which represents both opportunities and challenges for China-Brazil relationships, especially during the post-COVID-19 era. And as we all know, these days, China is in the final process of elaborating its 14th five-year plan. And we are also in the final stage to elaborate the 2035 vision for the Chinese development. Some of the keywords of these two initiatives include like the modernization of Chinese agriculture and innovation, and also international cooperation. And I think it is very important for the people who are working in the China-Brazil cooperation to focus a little bit on these two documents, and because they will set a new paradigm of the Chinese economic development, which will foster the domestic circulation, while the international circulation and the domestic circulation will foster each other. This will provide a whole set of new opportunities for the China-Brazil partnership, especially in the agriculture sector. And we know Brazil is one of the most important emerging markets in the world, and one of the most superpowers in the area of agriculture. And that will present a lot of new opportunities for China-Brazil cooperations in the future for the recovery of our economies and also for the upgrade of our cooperations. But also we have challenges. Besides continuing to foster our commerce, trade, we should also try to sophisticate our agriculture cooperation, which we should try to combine factors like innovation, factors like digital economy, green economy. So that's why the topic of today is of extremely importance because it will inspire us with new ideas and also will expand our horizons of visions about our future cooperation. So in that sense, I believe that the discussions of today's panel will inspire all our listeners, our audience, and bring some new ideas to our future cooperation. And finally, I wanted to say, although today is the final episode of this series of webinars co-organized by CEBRI and our Chinese embassy, we do hope that in the future, we can have more opportunities to work together with CEBRI and its members to promote more activities like this, because we are sure that we have a lot of more topics to discuss in the future. And thank you very much.
Thank you. Now I will hand it over to Marcus Jank, who is a member of the International Advisory Board of CEBRI and also coordinator at Insper Agro Global. Marcus will introduce us to the debates today and will be our moderator. Marcus, the floor is yours, please.
Good morning to everybody. It's a big pleasure to be with you today and to participate in this event with CEBRI and with the Chinese Embassy in Brazil. It's a pleasure for us at Insper to be together. I'm also very glad to have all these very qualified participants in one of the most important topics for Brazilian agribusiness, which is the relationship with China in areas such as food security, food safety, and also sustainability. I think these three topics are at the heart of our exports and our relations with China, and also the Brazil-China relations with the world. So we also have a role not only in bilateral relations, but also in multilateral arena. Our participants today have a very good expertise in these areas. Philip Yu is the CEO of Brazil Grains and Oilseeds at COFCO International since 2017. He's living here in Brazil, and he's also participating. COFCO today is one of the major players buying not only soybeans, but also sugar and other products from Brazil, meats, etc. So it's a major player and a major investor in Brazil today. Philip has an executive MBA from the China Europe International Business School and an LPD from Harvard University. Larissa Wachholz is the special advisor to Minister Teresa Cristina, which is the Minister of Agriculture in Brazil and the head of the China desk at the Minister of Agriculture. This is a new desk that we have, a very important desk, just taking care of China-Brazil relations in agriculture. Larissa lived in China between 2008 and 2013, and she holds a Master in Contemporary Studies of China from Renmin University. And we also have Fengying, which is the Deputy Director at the Agriculture Information Institute of the Chinese Academy of Agricultural Sciences, very important academy in China that works with everything related to agriculture, from research, technology, and also market analysis and many other related studies. She has been involved with many policy studies in China and globally. And over the years, Nie has an expertise, has been also instrumental in replicating the Chinese experience of improving food security within food insecure regions in China and internationally. So we are going to talk today about food security. And I think it's very good to receive here Nie and Philip to bring a Chinese view. Let me just share with you 3 slides that I believe that would be very useful for us about to introduce the Brazil-China relations. I hope you are seeing my slides here. Is it okay for everybody? Okay, thank you. So so the idea here is to cover topics, very important topics in China-Brazil relations related to the agri-food sector, which is food safety, health security, and sustainability. I'd like to just start saying that in last June, we launched a book. I was one of the editors together with Professor Pei Guo from China Agriculture University and Professor Sylvia from ESALT, which is the School of Agriculture at USP. And this book is exactly what we are looking in China-Brazil relations. It's a partnership between Chinese scholars and Brazilian scholars, and we should have partnerships in many other areas to discuss the potential relations in agriculture and food security. And this book is fully available for everybody. It's a free download book that has 430 pages and 24 authors, being 12 Brazilians and 12 Chinese, covering the main topics of the Brazil-China relations in the agri-food sector. Just to give you 3 slides about how I see this partnership, this mutual dependence, this marriage between Brazil and China. Brazil had a very important tech revolution in the 70s, and China had very important economy reforms after Deng Xiaoping reforms. So in our case, we had this migration of producers, huge migration of producers from the south and southeast to the Cerrado regions, where we had natural resources, but we didn't have the technology until the 70s. In the 70s, due to the efforts of Embrapa, Brazilian universities, state public research companies, and private companies, we started to dominate the tropical areas. And also we started to export products from these regions. For example, the adaptation of soybean to the center-west conditions was amazing. And today we can produce, for example, soy and corn in the same year without irrigation, or soy and cotton. And all those products are important for the Brazil-China relations, especially soybeans. China started to buy soybeans after 2000, a big volume of soybeans, and most of those soybeans come from the Cerrados regions and come from the revolution that we had in this region. So China is responsible as a demand player for everything that happened in Brazil after the 70s, especially in the center-west regions. We moved to a land and capital intensive agriculture with soy, meats, animal protein, cotton, sugar, biofuels, large-scale farms, improvement of plants and soils, 2 crops per year, crop livestock integration. So a big revolution in terms of agricultural technologies. From the China side, we had also very important movement in the 70s. 200 million people migrated from rural areas to urban areas. This created the largest emerging middle class on the planet. And also this was the main factor responsible for the agricultural modernization in China, with high technology inputs, growing production scale, and a strong reduction in rural poverty. And this is the topic that will be covered by Dr. Nie. The China production of grains moved from 330 to 660 million tons of grains, from 11 million tons of meat to 86 million tons, which is a very important result. In labor-intensive agricultures like aquaculture and fruits and vegetables has increased. Brazil is today the #3 in exports, global exports of agri-food products. China is #4 in exports and probably #1 in imports. So it's a major player. Both countries are major players in the international arena in agri-food products. And also what we saw in China is an important revolution of what we call agriculture and industry 4.0, comprising digitalization, drones, flexible greenhouses, etc. This is what happened this year. So if we compare the first semester of 2020 with the first semester of 2019, we saw that even having the COVID-19 pandemic, we are having this year, 2020, the best year in terms of agricultural exports from Brazil to the world. And this is very related to the demand of China, that increased 27% in the first semester compared to 2019. And this is due to the COVID-19 fast recovery in China, the US-China trade conflicts that also gave some markets to Brazil, especially in soybeans, and also a problem that China had in African swine fever that made China a big importer of animal protein. So when we see Brazilian exports in general, they moved from $47 billion to $51 billion in the first semester of 2020 versus 2019. And this big increase has China as the major reason for this increase of exports. So China and Brazil are very linked today. They were not in 2000. In 2000, we were just exporting $1 billion to China. But when we look today, we are talking last year of $34 billion. And this year, it will be probably more than $40 billion of exports to China. being half of that soybeans, but also an increase in other products, very fast increase in beef, poultry, pork, wood pulp, cotton, and sugar. So China is the first #1 destination of most Brazilian exports in these products, but also Brazil is the #1 supplier of China. China represents almost 40% now of our exports, but Brazil represents 20% of China imports in the agri-food sector. And this is what I like to call as a marriage, marriage given by technology, given by cooperation, given by geography, the geography of natural resources. So Brazil became a big supplier of China in the last 20 years, and China today is the #1 destination of our agri-food exports. So today we are going to talk about very important topics in this relation. I put here 5 topics that were covered in our book, but we are talking today about 3 topics here. Food security is a very traditional and very important topic. So there is a mutual dependence between Brazil and China, and this mutual dependence comes from confidence building and the long-term strategic partnership that we have between our countries. So we are seeing raising bilateral trade flows. We are also talking about the reduction of tariffs and non-tariff barriers. And we also need to talk for sure about the export diversification and value-added products. For example, diversification from soybeans to animal protein, to cotton, to sugar, to cellulose, in the future to fisheries and to fruits and vegetables. And I'm not talking just about Brazilian exports to China, but also the potential of Chinese exports to Brazil. So we need to increase in both sides trade, but also diversification of products and value-added products. The second topic, very important topic, is food safety, especially after the COVID-19 pandemic, but also the African swine fever problem in China. We needed to talk more about sanitary issues, protocols, harmonization of standards, legislations. I hope that Larissa will cover these topics, because this topic is today a very important agenda for Larissa at the Ministry of Agriculture, the COVID-related restrictions that we are seeing today, and many other topics that are today in this arena of food safety and bilateral cooperation. And finally, sustainability. Sustainability is a very hot topic for China and for Brazil too. We need to remember that China also has faced several challenges in sustainability related, for example, to availability and quality of water, soil degradation, pollution, pesticide uses, and many other topics that are important for China agriculture. And I hope that Dr. Nie, for example, will also cover this issue. But from our side, we also face important challenges to fight illegal deforestation, especially in the Amazon, to keep biodiversity, which is very rich in Brazil, and also all the issues related to land use in Brazil and land tenure in Brazil. So this is a very important topic that I would like to also hear from Philip. What's the COFCO vision about sustainability in China and in Brazil and in trade between China and Brazil? So these are the main topics, and thank you very much to everybody. Let me now pass the floor first to Philip Yu, that will talk about the issues here. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Marcos.
Philip.
Thank you, Marcos. Good morning, everyone. Can you see my screen?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you, Marcos, for your introduction. It's my pleasure to join this event. And I believe this kind of activity will positively promote bilateral relations and also cooperations. My topic today is a mutual beneficial Sino-Brazil cooperation. I cover 2 subjects. One is Sino-Brazil bilateral trade overview. Second is, from a COFCO's perspective, what is the challenges and the opportunities for the foreign investors. First, let's look at the both countries' GDP structure. Being the members of BRICS, Brazil and China both are big countries with huge land and huge population. Currently, Chinese population is 7 times more than the Brazil, and also GDP are also 7 times of Brazil's GDP. Brazil's GDP structure have more similarities with Western countries like United States and also Europe, with its service industry takes a bigger percentage of share in the GDP. And China, not like Brazil, it's quite balanced. We have service industry also with a percentage of GDP more than 53%, but with industry and also manufacturing together, Chinese manufacturing and industries also have a same, almost more than the service industry. So you see, and also agribusiness in Brazil takes 20 to 25% of Brazil GDP. From a GDP structure, we see that Brazil and China are complementary and also mutual beneficial in cooperation. Whether in the exports or in imports, China is Brazil's biggest trading partner. In 2019, Brazil exported 225.4 billion and imported 177 billion, resulting in a positive balance of 48 billion. Total imports and exports value reached 402.7 billion. I believe.
Sorry, Philip.
Yes.
I think we have the wrong file on the screen. I don't think we are watching the right presentation. Can you confirm it to us?
You didn't see.
We can see a slide, but I don't think it's the right one.
Can you see my screen?
We can see your screen, but I don't think it's the right presentation. It seems to us that we are seeing the wrong presentation.
No, just this presentation.
Philip, I think you should share the screen and look at the right presentation in your computer, or I could open your presentation from here too.
Oh, yeah, yes, I think Oh, just a minute.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Now it's okay?
Yes.
Oh, sorry, maybe.
Yeah.
Yes.
You can just put in, yes, now it's perfect.
Oh, okay, thank you. Okay,
thank you,
Marcos.
Thank you, Philip.
Thank you. So this is China. Okay, this is talking about Brazil's export to China and also import from China. I think China contribute 60% of a surplus to Brazil's foreign trade. What China imported from Brazil's? They are soybeans, iron ore, crude oil, pork, and others. And what Brazil's imported from China? Mechanical and electrical chemicals, transportations, textiles, and others. In 2019, last year, China-Brazil trade volume reached 98.6 billion, being 24.5% of Brazil total imports and exports. This slide shows China agricultural productions. China not only bigger importer of a global agricultural product, but itself also a big producer of grains and oilseeds, with acreage 116 million hectares, last year producing 664 million tons. The most bigger commodities are wheat, corn, rice, and soybeans. The corn has the biggest production, with a total production is around 263. Then rice, 210. Then wheat. And soybeans is a very limited quantities. We only have 18 millions. But in last year, China imported 120 million metric tons of agricultural products. Total import value is around 151 billion. But soybeans import volume reached 88.5 million metric tons. And from Brazil, we imported 57.7 million from Brazil. So Brazil is the biggest exporter of soybean in the world, and it takes a Chinese market with a 35% of a market share in China market. After soybeans, China also import like beef, pork, barley, and wheat. Just now, Mr. Marcos have already introduced this. I will not repeat it. And Brazil's have a land of 60 million hectares, producing almost 250 millions. The biggest crop are soybeans and sugar and also corn. In the last 10 years, Brazil's agricultural product like soybeans and also corn production has doubled in last 10 years. In 2021, next year, Brazil's soybean production will be 133 millions. This is a world number one soybean producer. We forecast that Brazil will export 85 million to the world market, and possibly China will buy from Brazil more than 60 million, maybe around 65 millions. And Brazil also is a big country of producing the corn, with production around 110 millions and 39 millions to the world market for the export business. But unfortunately, Brazil and China still haven't opened the door for the Brazil maize to China market because of phytosanitary problems, still haven't reached agreement. I believe that in future, Brazil and China will reach agreement for the Brazil's corn export to China market. Then more corn will be in China. Talking about Brazil agriculture, we must talk about the main producing area in the inland. Mato Grosso is most powerful producing regions in Brazil, with soybeans production more than 33 million, and the corn production is also around 31 billion. But Mato Grosso, if we want to transport soybeans and corn to the coastal port like a Northern Corridor, Barcarena, Itaqui, it will cost 1,500 kilometers. And to the eastern corridor, like Santos to Balon, it also will have another 1,500. So today, Brazil's bottleneck of agriculture is a freight logistic market. Today, most of the Brazil's corn and soybeans were transported by trucks 50%, train 40%, and also boats 10%. Compared with China and the United States, Brazil's transportation cost is much higher than China. Like inland internal logistic cost is 2.5 higher than China, and elevation cost also is 2 times higher than China. For example, if we want to elevate the soybeans from Santos to China, in China, it's normally $3 or $4 enough. But in Brazil, we need to pay like $7 to $8. And for the inland logistics from Mato Grosso to the coastal port, it will cost around $100. But in China, with the same distance, maybe $50 enough. So this is a difference in the for the efficiency of the logistics. So I would like to draw a conclusion for the economic cooperation and the relation between Brazil and China. First, I think Brazil and China are complementary in production and demand. Indispensable, we are natural partners for mutual benefit and win-win. The second, a good bilateral relation is a stabilized and the growth engine for agricultural cooperation. Why I say this? Because most biggest companies in China are state-owned companies. So a very good bilateral relations will promote those state-owned companies to have more investment in Brazilian market. So a very good bilateral relations make sense. Now I would like to share about COFCO's existence in Brazilian market. Every year, COFCO run 20 million of agricultural product like corn and maize and wheat. Our business model is first is a value chain. We from the origination from the farmland of Brazil to Chinese consumers' kitchen. So we bridge it. So this is a long value chain. The second, COFCO also have a huge investment of crushing and also biodiesel and sugar industries in Brazil. We buy corn, soybeans, and corn in Brazil's farmland. Then with logistics, shipped those products to our crushing capacity. Then we slow tradings and also domestic sales. We sell our products to the export to the world market and also domestic market. And we also have import business. Brazil is a country lack the supply of the wheat. Most of land here in Brazil is planted for the soybean and the corn with a very limited acreage for the wheat. Brazil only produce like 5 million metric tons of wheat. So a big quantities of wheat need to import from world market. COFCO as a multinational company, we also help to export wheat from Argentina and the United States to Brazil. And by the way, just now Marcos mentioned that Brazil have a very good environmental protection, pay great attention to the Amazon areas. Now we are 100% traceability for all soybeans for Brazil farms. We set up our goal by 2023. All the goods buy from Brazil will have traceability. So that make COFCO in the safe positions that we are following the Brazil's regulations and also 100% for the environmental protection. This slide shows in the past 10 years about GDP performance of Brazil's. I feel very regret. Brazil's economy looks like trapped. In the last 10 years, GDP, no growth. You see, even in 2018, Brazil GDP is only 1.4 trillion yuan and also lower than the 2008. Now we are in the 2020, we suffering the COVID situations. I believe that we are experiencing hard times. So inflation is around 2%, but unemployment is very high. It's around 14%. So Brazil's economic now are suffering epidemic and also economic recession, which is not good for us. In the last 10 years, I think a lot of Chinese come here with total investment around 55 billion. Currently, China is the biggest investor in Brazil. But I visited many Chinese investors and also company here. Most of Chinese company, their business didn't grow with business because of, I think this is related to the weak economy of Brazil. This is talking about investment environment of Brazil. This is in 2020, according to the World Bank informations. among the 200 countries, Brazil's rank 124. And we review this investment environment, slow politics, social, legal, and economics. United States rank number 6, Russia rank number 28, and China rank 31, India rank 63. I think as same members of BRICS countries, Brazil really have some bottleneck in improving the investment environment. Brazil looks a great country. It's a big market with a population 200 million and also produce abundant agricultural product, petroleums, and minerals. But when the investors arrived here, then we find some problems. So I will share with you in the next slides. Just for examples, in the last 10 years, from 2010 to 2020, Brazil's reals have a devaluation of 218.54. So in this last 10 years, with devaluation of 200, it's a disaster for the foreign investors. For example, COFCO arrived in Brazil, I think it's around 7 years ago, 2013, by acquisitions of 2 companies. At that time, the interest rate, the FX rate is very low, it's around 2.5. Then now is 5.7. I think the return of COFCO is very limited. But you know, the devaluation of the currency swallow all the profit PBT from our performance. So this is a disaster. So this is why when the COVID series happened this year, a lot of foreign companies run out of the Brazils to escape the devaluation of reals. So this is a problem. So if Brazils have a very stable FX environment, it will help a lot of investment and attract them to put money here. But if you don't have a very good environment, especially stability of foreign exchange, then a lot of investors will have a consideration. This is a risk. Honestly speaking, I like the slogan on your national flag, Ordem e Progresso. It means a country, if we want to govern the country well, it needs stability and also progress. For a company investment, the same. We need, normally for an investor or entrepreneur will consider 2 things. One is risks. So what kind of risks is here? Investment environment is our considerations, because if the investment environment is not friendly, then we'll have a serious consideration how much money we should put or whether we should be here. And also we need to care about return. Normally for a company like 2% or 3% of a return of ROE is really good. But if you have a currency devaluation like 20%, from the year of 2020, the Brazil reals already have devalued at 30%. So all the companies, if they put money in Brazil, lost the money because what they gain could not cover their losses in the FX. The other challenges COFCO experience, except the FX, we also have tax, law, labor, and also environmental protection. Tax, Brazils have a most complicated tax system in the world. We have federal tax, we have state and municipal tax. Even each same commodity, each different state have different tax. It makes foreign investors totally confused and make things complicated. Even sometimes I have talked with Brazilian colleagues. For ordinary Brazilians, they even don't understand what is a tax systems of Brazil. So I hope that Brazil in future will have a successful tax reform, make the business simple, and build the confidence for the foreign investors. Second, I would like to talk about the labor. COFCO is multinational companies. We have many regional offices in the US, in the Europe, in the Argentina, and also in the Asian countries. Brazil is a place where we have most labor cases. I find it's very interesting. The labor case industry, just like in industries, and the government law is always stand at the side of labor. So that makes foreign investors frightened. So you see why in the last 20 years, Brazil's industry or manufacturing is declining. I think this is related to some kind of labor and tax and also facts. So I, as a player in the Brazil market, COFCO sincerely hopes that this kind of investment environment will be improved. I believe that a good environment will benefit not for the foreign investors, but also for the country, for the people, for the government, for the industries. Sorry, we talk about a lot of challenges, and also I want to share about the opportunities in the Brazil's agricultural business. From a COFCO's perspective, from value chain, we have value chain, we have origination, we have logistics, we have trading, and then export our products to the world market. We segregate into three parts. Upstreams, Brazil farmers, not like Chinese farmers with a huge land. For the normal levels farmer in the Mato Grosso, 10,000 hectares of land. In China, it is unbelievable. So for the farmer, they just like in a company, a corporations, they need a capital. They need a huge input of chemicals, seeds, fertilizers, but they also need technology to make their production efficiency. I believe digitalizations and high technology will make Brazil's agriculture business more modern, more efficiency. And also, there are also agricultural materials that Brazil needed. So these areas upstream, I think Brazil have a great opportunities. In the midstreams, manufacturing, feed aquatic cultures, and logistics and ports. As I explained just now, Brazil's efficiency or in the logistics and the ports could not compare with United States and China, almost half efficiency of China. So I think there is a big space to prove this is opportunities. If today we are shipping the soybeans and the corn in trucks. I believe if we have a railway, it will save a lot of money and also make the transportations more efficiency and more economical. So this is also the areas that we can go. In the downstreams, I think we have organic agriculture and also made to order agriculture and diversified demands. Now I'm in Brazil. Every day I received a lot of Chinese inquiries. They're asking about that whether Brazil can produce organic soybeans, organic corns, because with Chinese people's life standard improved, people are acquiring more high quality product. You see, in the last year, Brazil exported also a lot of pork, chicken, and beef to China market. So Brazil's beef enjoy a good reputation in China market, and annual export volume is increasing. So there is a bigger market for Brazil to explore in China market. And also like, just now I mentioned like made to order agricultures. Many Chinese supermarket consumers approach me. They want a big quantities of organic soybeans, but because of the of the technicals, we couldn't satisfy Chinese demand. I feel in the future, if we can develop in these areas, there are also a big market for Brazil to do. So this is the opportunities I want to share with you. Because of the time, I will not elaborate. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Philip. This was really great, and it was a very important overview from the #1 Chinese company investing in Brazil. So let me pass to Larissa. Larissa, 7 to 10 minutes. If you could keep 7, it would be better. But there's already questions, Larissa, about the issue of sanitary and phytosanitary restrictions. So it would be interesting for us to learn about, for example, COVID-19 issues related to some problems of meat exports to China. And also there's a question from Leonardo about phytosanitary issues related to the possibility to export corn from Brazil to China, which could be a big commodity in the future. So thank you, Larissa.
Thank you, Marcos. It's a pleasure to be here. So I'll focus my talk on food safety now, and if there's time later, I can make some comments on food security and sustainability as well. So let's see how it goes. You can control my time. Well, MAPA's day-to-day operations, they revolve around guaranteeing that the Brazilian population and our international partners will be offered food that is safe. So this is our daily work. We can proudly say actually that consumers in more than 180 countries trust the quality and the safety of our products. And now as we talk about COVID, especially our livestock products. So very early on with the arrival of the pandemic, Brazil adopted measures to reduce the risks of contamination among workers of meat plants. Brazil's COVID-19 protocols for the agriculture and food industry were based on those of the World Health Organization and the Food and Agriculture Organization of the United Nations. So international standards were followed all the way through. And our efforts to contain the spread of the virus among workers, they had two main goals. First, to protect workers' health, and second, to guarantee product safety. So those were the goals we had in mind all along. Measures became stricter along the past few months with time and experience. And I can say that some companies, some Brazilian companies, especially I'm talking about animal protein companies, they went even further than only adopting the protocols that were required by them from the Brazilian side, from the Brazilian government, but they even went further and adopted protocols that were stricter than those required. And they are able to demonstrate that to Chinese authorities as well. So in the past months, Chinese authorities demonstrated, I would call some extreme caution while trying to avoid the resurgence of the virus in their country. Special attention was directed to cold chain imports, although it is understood also in China that the risk of human contamination from the handling of imported cold chain foods is very, very low. So most of the communication we see coming from the Chinese government or from Chinese media also mentions that the risk is extremely low. So even if Brazil has always highlighted its strict adherence to science-based evidence in the implementation of every protocol that was put in place, we do understand that the Chinese consumer is very attentive to issues of food safety, probably more than regular consumers around the world. So the ministry's stance, our stance, has therefore been to fully collaborate with Chinese authorities on all their requests. So a clear and transparent dialogue with Chinese authorities was established in the past few months during this COVID-19 situation. A direct channel was created on a messaging app to favor quick communication in Mandarin that allowed our team in charge of animal protein exports here at the Ministry of Agriculture to be able to respond to requests and questions from their Chinese counterparts on a very timely manner. So meetings were held whenever necessary, no matter what time or day of the week, weekends, during the night, when necessary, for both sides. And Brazilian meat exporters were also able to demonstrate their efforts in preventing the spread of COVID-19 among workers through inspections held by video conferencing. So this is something that has been happening. It happened before for the regular inspections by the Chinese government, but it has happened more recently also for inspections more related to COVID-19 as well. So that was a big advancement also in the communication. So through these video conferencing systems that were put in place, the Chinese sanitary authorities were able to evaluate the implementation of protocols from Beijing, even if they could not be here. So that was very positive for us. I believe the ability to have a very close communication with our counterparts in China and Beijing was a major gain that we had at the Ministry of Agriculture from the handling of this situation. So food safety has a lot to do with trust. We need to trust the protocols in place. We need to trust their implementation. We need to trust the teams behind it. So the type of interaction that we currently have in place has helped build trust between the two sides. And that is a fundamental element also for the continuous efforts of market opening of our products in China. We have to remember that for every new product to be exported to the Chinese market, we need to negotiate a specific bilateral sanitary, phytosanitary agreement. So as we have this more fluid, smooth communication between the two sides, that also makes it easier for these negotiations to take place. So I think it's a gain that goes beyond the COVID-19 phase, let's say. And we also see that our biggest competitors, like other countries that are also food exporters, they are frequently in China, they're frequently interacting with Chinese authorities. So we need to do the same to the best of our abilities, even with the difficulties of traveling that we face at the moment. So let's say the technology has been very helpful for us in handling all this. The trust building efforts that were made to overcome the challenges of COVID-19 hopefully will help us also in these efforts of diversifying our exports to China as well. As you mentioned in the beginning of your talk, and I would like to emphasize, we are very much aware that we need to diversify our exports to China. That's our biggest challenge. I think Minister Chu also mentioned that there's much more to be explored between Brazil and China in the agriculture sector. And this is something we are aware of and we would like to work on. I would like to say a few things also on the sustainability front, because I think that's a very important phase for China in these issues. We have just seen that China has made a very important pledge, an announcement to reach peak emissions before 2030, carbon emissions, and carbon neutrality by 2060. And I emphasize that because we see that as a clear demonstration of China's commitment to sustainable practices. And I would like to call attention to what Philip mentioned about COFCO's commitment to the traceability of their purchases in Brazil. We have been following closely China's commitments and announcements in these areas, and we can see how serious and deeply committed China is on this front. So we feel comfortable in one hand, because we see that going forward, agriculture is indeed a leading driver of economic recovery in this post-COVID-19 era, let's say. And lessons learned from COVID-19 also show us that it is necessary to integrate the economic, social, environmental dimensions of sustainable development. So we feel comfortable that we are also able to do that while we are stable and trustworthy providers of food security as well. So both food security and food safety with sustainable practices. Minister Teresa Cristina often says that Brazil is a global agricultural and environmental power. And so in this context, the Brazilian tropical agriculture will be a pillar of Brazil's economic recovery. We really believe that, generating income and employment for the population without neglecting the conservation of the country's biomes and ecosystems. Probably I'll just say a few words on the corn protocol that was mentioned. Indeed, Brazil and China have a protocol for corn exports in place. This protocol is currently being reviewed. It is actually a request from our side to the Chinese side that we request that we review this protocol so that Brazil is actually able to start regular exports of corn to China, which doesn't happen at the moment because of some difficulties with terms of this agreement. So we're in the process of negotiating the terms of this agreement revision. We have already sent our comments to China, and we wait on the Chinese interest of rediscussing these terms of the corn protocol with us so that we can move ahead. So that's the status we have at the moment. But it is also very important to remember that for every effort that we make to open a new market for products in China, a new protocol has to be negotiated. And so that's why it takes time sometimes. We want to open the fruit market. We have been very successful in opening the first fruit market to China, which is the melon from Brazil. We just recently had the first cargo that was shipped to China. We want to open the market for more fruits and vegetables of that kind. And for every effort that we do in a market opening, a new protocol for that product has to be negotiated. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Larissa. This was really great. A very good answer and a very good comments about both food safety and sustainability. So let me pass to Fengying from CAS. But I'd like, especially, Nian, if you could cover two topics that are very important for us. The first is the issue of sustainability, because here in Brazil we've been covering a lot of the positions of Europe about sustainability, and it's very important for us to learn more about the Chinese experience in sustainability, because Europe today represents 17% of our exports in agri-food sector, and China will represent now 42% this year. So it's very important for us to understand the Chinese mind on sustainability issues. We know that China also have problems like us in areas such as water, soil degradation, pesticide usage. We also have the issue of deforestation. It would be very interesting for us to learn more about the Chinese experience in sustainability, especially all the environment issues. And also poverty reduction, because you had this problem in China. We also have the same problem. Part of the Brazilian agriculture is very poor and has a lot of challenges of poverty reduction, especially in the northeast of Brazil. So it would be interesting to learn about your experience in these two areas. Thank you.
It's nice to attend this and the seminar. And I think it's one from the business and one from government and I from academy. So maybe the small figure and more and fact. And so I'm from the Chinese Academy of Agricultural Sciences. And good evening, everyone. And it's my pleasure to attend this meeting. And Yes, I maybe is shortly. I thought it's 10 minutes. So and tell about the brief situation of China food security and the challenges maybe the same as Brazil, and also related the policy related with sustainability. And I think yes, when we see the for the security situation, I think we are all the Chinese proud of our achievement. Oh, it's a miracle. I think yes, when you see and the chat is really sharply growth, is sharply up. So not only this is green. I think when we see how can they green, I think 2003 and 2015. The main and the increasing is from the structural reform, and increasing the higher yield crop and decreasing the low yield crop. The low yield crop including oil, cotton crop like the oil crop like the soybean, and a high yield I think mainly the maize. The maize in China is really and comparatively a profit crop compared with the soybean. And since 2015, and mainly I think the increasing is from the yield, increasing of the yield. And in the recent years, the planting area of the maize decreasing because also we want to protect the soil. And also when we see the foodability, I think in the FAO's and the definition, 400 kilogram is the a standard of the food security. So we see, and I think for many years, since 2015, I think China per capita grain is over 400 kilogram. And also when we see this chart, there are a lot of increasing for all the food products in China. And not only the maize or the corn, rice, but also the oil crop and the vegetables and fruit, and especially agriculture products. And also, I think we use only 10%, one tenth of the world land, and we filled the 22% of the world population. I think since 2006, China became the donor in WFP and for W food aids. And also we are one of the larger countries in the food producer. I think is similar like Brazil. When we see the import, and now China is become the net food importing country. As grain, I think is one of the imported products, but mainly we import the first one. I think is the recent years we have the three major commodities need to import, and one is soybean, one is the milk powder, and I think another is leather. So it's the three major and agriculture and import products. And also I think it's for the grain, we found 1/3 is barley 2019, and almost 20% of the corn. And some years the soga, and in 2007 and 2015, I think is a high and composition. But we export some products like fruits and fruit products and vegetable products. Now it's agricultural products. Now it's still surplus and in trade. So we because of for the soybean, I think is you can see we really need a lot of soybean because of the oil need, and also soybean meal for the protein of the feed for feed animal. So I think it's mainly from Brazil, Argentina, and the United States, and also Uruguay. Also, Uruguay is we import only a small amount of the soybean from Uruguay, but they are number one and exporter in this country. So when we see is really the situation, the challenge, I think is the same, just like the Michael's mentioned, and the strong demand but limited resources. When we see our demand, I think is still is strong increasing. I think it's because of the population and because of urbanization and because of the improvement of the increasing their income. When the increasing the income, they need more, I think, the meat, they need more grain to transfer to the meat. And because we need more fruit and vegetables, we need more arable land. Maybe as the more land have to produce and for the meat, for the vegetable, and for the fruits. So the arable land for the cereal, I think it is very limited. So we are always and shortage in the intensive land products. And also we can see because of urbanization and industrialization, we can see is the arable land decreasing, even we only have small amount of arable land per capita. So this is can't stop. We only stopping is the decreasing and rates, but we couldn't stop decreasing. So it's the challenge. And also I think Michael mentioned the soil degradation because of the some good land used to for the industrialization, for the urbanization, and also because of the we not considering in the past. I think we seek for the yield increasing, the production, but we pay less attention on the sustainability, on the environment, on the ecosystem. So we got a lot of lessons from the past 20 or 30 years. I think water is really limited. I think when you visit China, you will know, and the water is, we have the abundance of the water in south of China, less water in north, but north is the production area of agriculture. So it's a transfer from the south to the north. And also high production cost because of labor migration, because of the price increasing of the chemicals input and the machinery, fertilizer cost, the labor cost, and the land cost. Because we have the land is, our land is belong to the farm household. So if they want to increasing their size, they have to rent from other farmers. So the rent is very, very high. So when we see the cost of rice, corn, and wheat, we can see increasing trend. So when we see the return and benefit, so for the grain is very low. And also I think because of the small size and shortage of the labor, and we always ask who will be the farmers in future. And most use migrant to city, only the women and old people and stay in agriculture. And also in China, we have another question is how to plant the crops. Because of we have more than 200 million households. And every household only has very limited arable land. So sometimes you couldn't use big machine. And especially in some mountain area. And also because every household only has a small plot of land. So we need some institutional reform to increasing the farmer size And then we can use more and machinery to replace labor. And also, I think climate change make uncertainty and also frequent disasters. And also, I think we have serious problems in food loss waste, and especially for grain. And it's really is a lot of lost and from after harvesting. So, and when we talk about the national policy, so I think from almost 10 years, and some change. I think in China, we pay a lot of attention for the security and the sustainability. In China, food security is always treated as national strategy. So it's, and in the past, and 20 years ago, maybe we pay attention on the production, increasing the production, increasing the yield. But now we move to the environment, protect the environment, and seeing for the sustainability. For we have a package of the policy for protecting the arable land as quality and quantity. And we have a serious policy every year. And also, I think because we have limited land, so we pay a lot of investment into protect the quality and of the land. And also, I think infrastructure improvement for the irrigation, for the transportation, for the logistic. I think we recent years is really a high investment. One from government agency for we maybe say the public, but also and a lot of investment from the private sector, and also technology innovation. We only, I think, is the arable land is decreasing. We only can do is by the help of technology to increasing the productivity, to increasing the efficiency. So with the technology innovation, and the government has a lot of policy to encourage and the private sector to invest in R&D. At the same time, government increasing the R&D investment. And also, I think yes, we talk about today as Brazil-China, China-Brazil collaboration. I think we really need the collaboration and between China and Brazil. I think not from the government agency, but also from the business investment, but also from the academy. And we hope it really has the from this kind of communication, and we can move forward a little bit about the collaboration in academic. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Dr. Nie. It would be nice to, I would like to ask you more 10 minutes for a few questions from the audience. So it would be interesting first to listen a little more. For example, there's a question from Rodrigo Lima, from Andrea Zhang, Suelen Marostica, Gabriel Lui, Edna Silva, all the questions about the Brazilian compliance of environmental law. And also, Dr. Nie just presented some challenges of China. So I'd like to ask you a very brief comment about what's the future of China-Brazil relations in terms of environment, in terms of climate change, in terms of low carbon technologies, because we know that China made a big progress in low carbon and renewable technologies in energy. But in terms of land use, in terms of agricultural products, what's the cooperation issues that we should work with in terms of low carbon technologies, and also the issue of trade and environment? So how do you see these challenges between Brazil and China? Starting by Philip. Philip has an experience buying grains in Brazil. So what can we do in terms of our governments to cooperate more in this area and to understand our problems and to work together?
It's really a good question. I think to promote the bilateral relation and cooperation, need to understand each other, respect each other. I know Brazil's really care about the environment protections, and recently in Europe there are a lot of different voices against Amazon fires. I think some voices are right, but some we also need to understand the Brazilian situations. Brazil needed to develop its economy, and also we need to have sustainabilities. So it's just kind of a balance. It's just a kind of balance. Maybe in the future, I think Brazil have something to do. Now Brazil is exporting a lot of raw materials. So the only way to grow your economy is just planting more and more soybean and corn to develop new areas. This is kind of, you want to develop all the land. This is not realistic. I think Brazil should change its development models. Not only export the raw material to the world market, develop your industries, keep your raw material processed, increase your added value. Then I think we can reduce the speed of developing Amazon areas. I think Brazil needed to change your models. Now, like minerals, petroleums, agriculture, all of them are raw materials with a very low added values. When the global market is weak, then the price collapse. You see that last year, Brazil's export more soybeans, but get less revenue because world soybeans price have a collapse. So that I mean that Brazil's for the agricultural business, you should develop more industries, more like feeding industries, more high valued industries, keep the industry here, and it also will bring more employment. Otherwise, people in the northern areas, they couldn't find a job. What can they do? They just, develop the land, plant the land. This is kind of not a good cycle. I think the good way is you need to change the business models. This is what I am understanding. Second, I would like to share. In China, we have a saying. In China, we have a great mountain called Taishan. It's really, really big. But in China, we have a words, people united, mountain Taishan shifted. I think Brazil's need united together, up from the president, low to the normal people. We should have set a goal and put our focus on this goal and try to finish this goal. Then get everybody shared, get everybody involved. This makes sense, sustainable and better. So I just want to share with you, change the model, the country united, not only look after the interest of the landlord, the interest of the rich people, but also you also have a consideration of the low revenue peoples. Because today, you couldn't get rid of them. The rich people could not survive without poor people. Do not say that, okay, I have money, I can survive in this world. Without poor peoples, rich people will not be a rich people because you are relatively rich. You have some resources, you have some equipment, so make you easy to make money. But I think that is, we should, common development, rich people and poor people join together, improve and focus the goal and the people united. Then I think things will be done.
Thank you, Philip. Very nice answer. And also, you always remember all this capacity that China has of organizing the society and organizing the strategy, the long-term strategy as a country. So let me ask Larissa to comment a little bit about this challenge that Philip presented to us on diversification, on moving from traditional commodities to value-added products, in the relations with China. So what are the perspectives that you see, Larissa, in terms of, for example, he mentioned the aquaculture, fisheries. We know that fruits and vegetables could be an option, and even the increase of animal protein, because right now we are exporting a lot of soybeans in terms of the African swine fever. Because of the African swine fever, we raised our exports of beef and pork to China, but we know that China wants to be self-sufficient always in animal protein. So what happens in the future if China doesn't have animal the swine fever? So we will be back to the previous situation of only a few plants approved to China, or we can build a long-term relationship with more animal protein, more fruits and vegetables and other products to China.
Yeah, definitely our goal would be to build this long-term relationship. We have made actually big progress since 2019. If you look at the amount of different markets that were opened, we are at something like 89 or 90 new markets open since January 2019 until this month. So this has been a major focus and a priority of Minister Teresa Cristina. And that refers, of course, to China, but also worldwide to every other market in the world, right? What calls our attention is that we were also able to open markets for products that are more traditional products that were not so common. For example, castanha de baru, so some traditional Brazilian nuts, or erva mate, or some other products that were not the first that we would think about. We are very interested in increasing our fruits export, especially when we think about the Chinese market. And we also feel that there is a lot of demand. We get requests from the Chinese side on that as well. But as you said, there are challenges, and those challenges, I would say, number one is that you have to negotiate one product at a time, because you need a protocol for each and every product. So of course that delays the process a little bit. We have ways to speed up this process, probably being more efficient on our end as well. But there is China also gets requests from all over the world for market openings, and it's necessary that we build this relationship that will also have them want to prioritize protocols that we offered them to negotiate. Another problem that we face is that once the market is open, then the real work begins, right? Then you have to have entrepreneurs that go after and explore this market and promote their products in China. And this is a huge challenge, because it is expensive to market products in China, and it requires a local presence. And the local presence of Brazilian business in China is still very low. We need to have more companies and more associations established in China. Most probably it will be more feasible to promote Brazilian products in China. And if we do that in clusters or in groups through associations and not as individual companies, because that would probably be very expensive. Like when we think about China, we think about one country, but in fact, every province in China also has their own way of purchasing culture. You have to be able to speak to consumers that have a different way of looking at your product. From Beijing, they will act in one way. Guangdong has another type of habits. Shanghai will be different. So if you want to market your products, you have to do that with local partnerships. So I do believe that a stronger presence of the Brazilian productive sector, private sector in China is important. Promoting partnerships between Brazilian and Chinese companies is very important, because of course Chinese companies will know their market much better, and they'll be able to guide Brazilian companies on how to better explore these opportunities. Attracting Chinese investment to Brazil, to the agriculture sector, is also very important. And then I would like to mention Philip's comments on how hard it is for companies to be successful, financially successful, economically successful in Brazil. We acknowledge that, and there are efforts that we have to make. Still, I would like to mention that Brazil still ranks among the top destinations for foreign direct investment in the world. So we're still able to attract a large share of investments, although there are difficulties in that. And when you think about the case of the African swine fever, for instance, that you mentioned, one of the strategies highlighted by the Chinese government, in which they want to rebuild their own pork production capacity, is also to stimulate, to encourage Chinese investment overseas in these areas. So countries that have the ability to become large, to produce in volumes that could be suitable for the Chinese market, could most probably be a destination for these investments as well. And we have this feeling that once you have more exposure from Chinese companies in a specific market, you have a tendency to have more opportunities in terms of marketing these products in the Chinese market as well. So you create more exposure of these companies. They have an interest on opening markets to China because they're also active here in Brazil. So I really believe partnerships, investments, and additional presence of of Brazilian companies in China are all important elements for us to be able to really work on diversification efforts.
Okay, just the final words from Dr. Nie about cooperation Brazil and China. Dr. Nie, how do you see this possibility? What are the areas and the challenges that we should work together in terms of cooperation?
I think is the opportunity. I think is first is just and Philip mentioned. I think investment. I think is the cooperation. I think is the majority of major cooperation is investment or business. I think yes, because of we really has strong demand for the agricultural commodity, especially the intensive use of land of commodity like wheat and also the soybean and corn. But also I think is the meat, and Brazil and the meat is I think is very famous in Beijing, as I know. I think it's because of we has some and the restaurant is name of the Brazil beef roast. So I think it's maybe they're from Argentina, but also the name of Brazil. So I think it's there has very good business and in the beef, and I think it's the brand of the Brazil. I think yes, now in China is very famous for the beef. I think this is a lot of opportunities for the beef, and also you mentioned for the pork. I think yes, for China we has a high and self-sufficiency. It's only in the cereal, especially in the staple food like rice. But for other products, it's dependent on the markets. I think if the markets, if the beef or the mutton or lamb or the poultry is cheaper when they imported in China, I think the businessman will import it. But why there are not so many and meat products besides the beef? I think there are some reasons. I think sometimes I think Chinese people like fresh meat because our the diet and our style of the cooking food is in the fresh of the meat. I think in this aspect, I think the cool chain, I'm not sure if efficiency, maybe Phillips is no, it's from the it's not a cold one, not frozen. I think it's for Chinese people, they know when they taste it. So how can deal these problems? And also I think it's the long distance from China to from Brazil to China. I think the transportation now is for the cereal is something good. But for the other products, I'm not sure. I know we are meat from some from Brazil, but mostly from Australia beef is cheaper, I think, than in Brazil sometimes. And also I think it's the comparative. And when we see I think the business is the first one, and we can collaboration. And because of the big market in China, and but just like Lucia mentioned, diversified, and the market is different from different region, different provinces, and also I think is we need I think all the collaboration is on the government and agreement. I think it's need from both sides, from the government parts. They need them, and I think more and the communication, and to put forward, and maybe discussed and negotiate products by products. I think it's when agreement on the sign, but it's also need a different commodity has I think has detail to negotiation. I think this is maybe need times, but when the set to one commodity, I think it's a great improvement. And the last one, I think most important one is technology. Because I'm from CAS, Chinese Academy of Agricultural Sciences. I think we have the same, I think, interest on some like the seed and the innovation, like soybean. So we now we have some collaboration with Argentina to have some the seed cooperation of the soybean seed and the cooperation. And I think we maybe also in this part we can have some collaboration and in breeding for the soybean. And I think yes, also I think yes, maybe we can have some more and aspects in the academic side. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Philip, Larissa, Dr. Ni. I think it was a very nice conversation. It's a very important topic. We could spend hours and hours talking about all those issues that we touched today. So thank you to CEBRI, to the Embassy of China for this invitation to be here with you, and hope that we'll have other events about Brazil-China in the agri-food sector. So Luciana, final comments for you. Thank you.
Thank you, Marcos. I would like to thank you, the audience and our guest speakers, for taking the time, for being with us today in this excellent debate. On behalf of CEBRI, I also would like to make a special thanks to the Embassy of China for sponsoring this series of 3 events. And a final thank to Insper Agro Global for one more successful event in partnership. Thank you all for being here with us today. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you, Luciana.
Thank you. Bye-bye.